The AV-8B Harrier is a sub-variant of the Hawker Siddeley Harrier, which has been around from the late 60s and is currently still enjoying service with the United States Marine Corps. Its capability of light, close air support is perfect for supporting troops landing from a naval situation, which is basically what the Marine Corps are designed for, right? They're able to provide close air support and light strikes in support of troops on the ground, and that is their most prominent use. They're perfect as well for smaller navies or smaller aircraft carriers, having that vertical takeoff and landing capability and some excellent maneuverability. They're normally equipped with bombs or or rockets, but recently have been able to take on precision-guided munitions like laser bombs and targeting pods for armed reconnaissance. Their ability to hover in flight allows them to take off and land on decks that would normally be ridiculously small for fixed-wing aircraft, and they have a very rugged. They're known to be very, very rugged and very, very capable in that role. Today I'm going to show you how to take off and ramp start one of these guys in their current role in BMS 4.33 Update 1. I'll give a small weapons demonstration for you, and I'll give you a quick demonstration of how to take off using the short takeoff capability. Okay, so we're here flying the Israeli theatre, and just because I'm too lazy to change theatres, the AV-8B Plus Harrier 2 is the fitted design today, and I'll be ramp starting it from Palmachine Air Base at 4:30 screen time. We'll fly along we'll fly along here, and I have a tanker plotted along this route, so I'm going to attempt refueling off of the Harrier just to see if it can be done. After that, I'll have a small cross-country. Once I take on a fuel load of fuel somewhere here, I'll then divert to steer 4, where I have a range, and there are a few static targets and runways to shut down there. From that point onwards, we'll then follow the steer points. I'll practice stopping and hovering at there's a gas platform here, and then we will divert to a task force which has a Wasp LHD on it. Now I don't know if you can land on these or not. We'll just have to see. If it doesn't look like it's going to happen, or things are getting weird and screwy, I can then divert back to the airbase. Now it is recognising that as an alternative field though, which is the best news ever. So we'll give that a shot. That should be hilarious. So there's the plan. So cloud base is 6,000, that's fine, we'll be hovering about 5,000. Target weather improves. And 7 knot wind and out into the east, which is fine because that's the direction we're taking off at. And then
alright, listen up.
Cloud base is at 6,000. I've set the tanker to 18,000, so hopefully we'll bust through the clouds by then, otherwise this will be a very eventful in-flight refuel. But other than that, it's time to take off to the runway. Oh, what a crap day. Typical British weather. And here we have the Israeli theatre, although you wouldn't believe it. We're going to start with a cold and dead aircraft, and we're going to take it from there. Okay, so first of all, it's raining, so I'm going to close the cockpit. It'll also shield my ears from the ridiculously loud engines that you get. Now, just like the F-16, it's a single engine plane, so most of the basic rules for starting up the Harrier in BMS apply. You just have to know where everything is, which is where I'm going to help. So first of all, we need power. So the first switch provides battery. You can click this one again, or your realism and immersion, you can turn on the generator. That actually puts it to the equivalent of the F-16 doing main power. At that point in time, you're getting pretty close. What we're going to do now as well is we're going to set fuel to normal instead of forward or aft. And because realism, I'm going to turn on the lights tell everyone, hey, we're starting up, watch your ass out. Next thing is the jet fuel starter, which is labeled JFS, helpfully enough. And we're going to let the ride spool up. It'll go to about the 20% mark again, just like you normally do. And then when we're ready, we're going to click the idle to tent button right here. Now I have it bound to Alt-I for, which is the default one for the Harrier, just so I'm able to watch the gauges and press the button off camera. Pressing now. We're going to advance the throttle slightly, about halfway up. And I'll usually have to find I press it again and again. For some reason you need to press it like 2 or 3 times for it to really do what it's told. I don't know why that is, it just is. It'll click like that, and I'm putting the throttle back to idle now, so that we don't end up speeding off the play. And this is loud. Alright, so here's what comes next. It's a good idea to start up the systems, so we're going to turn on the fire control computer, the stores management system, and we'll turn on the MFDs. I've also just enabled the radar. We're going to turn on the upfront controller, the GPS and the data link, and we're going to start the alignment for the INS. I'm going to put the radar onto standby, just because that's how I like to do things. We're going to turn up the brightness. It's a little murky because it's still early night, so early morning. So we're going to set that to night mode. You can also just turn down the brightness as preferred. I like to do things my way. And we need to get coolant into the system so we don't overheat. So we're going to click this once, and that then flicks these switches into the normal positions. I don't know why it has to be that way. Just go with it. I'm going to clear the master a warning by pressing the WOF key. I don't know what that's actually for, but that's what it is here. And the radar is doing its test, which means we haven't overheated the equipment. I did forget to do that almost. And we're waiting on an INS alignment. While we're doing that, we may as well turn on the radios, so we're going to turn up the volume first. And we're going to click this to both. And we're going to set this to the upfront controller, like so. I've now allowed the upfront controller to control the radio. We're going to load up the data cartridge to the presets, which hopefully will be set properly. Otherwise, I'm going to have to quickly look up Palmachine Airport Air Base and talk to them directly using that. Fortunately, the Harrier is equipped with an e-board, and it's accurate, which is amazing. Palmachine is 79 X-ray, so we are going to enter that in while we're waiting. Perfect. And do we have ILS? We do not. Do we? No, no ILS. UHF is 341.35. And we are going to check that and make sure that's right as well by pressing the COM1 button right here. And it's not set right, so it was 341.35. Blammo!
Camel 1-1, descend to 4,000, maintain 260 knots, turn right heading 260, vectors to left base, runway 08.
Oh, what? We land in the carrier? That can't be right. Oh well. If the carrier decides to has decided to land instead of take off, then we'll scrub the landing part, the refueling part. I'll do that another time. Oh, one more thing. I need to enable my ejector seat. Let's figure out where the button for that guy is.
Camel 1-1, descend to 3,000.
Huh. It does very much sound like they're trying to land, doesn't it? That's a bit annoying. Where is my ejector seat? Ah, seat arm. There we are. Boom! It's armed. Now the switch doesn't click. You're just going to have to bear with it and accept your immersion issues for the moment. Next trick.
Camel 1-1, descend to 2,000, maintain 210.
We're going to clear the fault list like we have to on that guy there. And we'll set that one. As appropriate. And I'm getting the align light up here, so we can just check that by pressing list. And 6 for INS, and we do have a valid alignment. So we're going to set that to the flight position by left clicking it once, sorry, the nav position by left clicking it once, and we have a flight plan. Ba 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 ba. And, excuse me. That's it really, everything else is as preferred. You may for example want to turn on lights, or you may want cockpit lighting. That's the test panel. You are going to see caution warning jam on because we have not turned on ECM and jammer. And that's the only thing I actually forgot to do. And we right click on the RWR once as well to enable the RWR. So you left click it once, then you right click it once. But we also need to turn on the left and right hard points, otherwise our targeting pod will not work, and it's probably a good idea for us to go ahead and enable that now. So we'll let that thing do its thing really. Oh, laser arm on, and while that's still heating up, let's enable the laser to combat mode. Oh. So list 0 and 5, and we're going to use up and down to shift along here. Any button you want for that, and enter.
Camel 1-1, Tower, cleared for landing, runway 08.
All set.
Check gear down.
And then there's the return button if you want to use that. This is your next and previously. This is your steer point up and down button. And we pretty much have a good alignment now. We'll put the FLIR on standby because why not? And oh, TFR can go on to standby as well. I don't actually know if this is properly equipped for that, and that is indeed the tanker landing. So either that's turning around for another landing, or we have a problem. We may have to skip the carrier situation as necessary. Now you're probably hearing the RWR do its thing, but you're wondering, where is the RWR? You don't get an RWR panel. You will have to actually have the RWR selected as a feature of your HUD, basically. Now there are two types of takeoff and landing you can do with the Harrier. You can do a conventional takeoff and landing. That's perfectly permissible. So I'm going to demonstrate that for the moment. And you're going to need to then take off your chocks. You're going to just ask the tower to taxi.
Ready for departure.
And just a smidge of power. And turn on your nose wheel steering. And you're rolling. Now this thing is very light on the throttle. I'm back to idle and I'm still rolling away. It's very, very light on the throttle. Very, very nimble. Brutal weather for a takeoff, so given how crap the weather is, I don't think I'll do a hover takeoff, vertical takeoff. I can just tap on the brake there. I can, but I don't really want to in this kind of shit. Now, he wanted us to hold short, but for the very simple reason that there isn't any traffic in the AO. I'm going to ignore that and crack on. Now, I would not suggest rolling out with nothing on the exhaust. It's best to give them a little bit of a boost, since how it's a short takeoff landing system. So I've got buttons bound to my joystick for exhaust angle. If you don't use that, you can look down here and click whereabouts? Here and here to raise and lower the exhaust angle. I'm just going to use this. I recommend a 40 or a 50 degree exhaust angle depending on the runway length. You put the brakes on hard. You spool up the engine. It takes a moment or two to spool up, you'll see. And take off the brakes. You're already going to be rolling though. Take off the nose wheel steering once you get about 60, because you will get plenty of bite out the rudder as it is. And with a little bit of back pressure at 50, even you can start rotating even with a fully loaded bird at 140 knots. Very impressive. We're going to go gear up, and I've got the button bound for that as well. And gears up. You can hear the flaps actuating now that we're out of a slow speed. And it's a good idea now to just gently roll the exhaust angle back. And as you do that, the speed increases. And we're going to slow things down. And if you go too fast, the exhaust angles stop functioning. So chop the throttle back a little bit and finish the job. We're then going to reference steer 2. So next steer point, please. And we're going to have a hard right. We're going to have a right turn here. Now this thing, even fully loaded, can pull some pretty decent G, even at hard speeds. Good angle of attack. And fairly decent recovery. So even at this speed, you've got very good control in the vertical. Instantaneous pull is pretty strong. Roll isn't bad. Snap roll's not great. It doesn't like it. A hard snap right, for example, is likely to get you to snap roll, but look at that yaw. Hard pull back. So it's definitely going to have a bit more control in the vertical, which is fine. The rudder is ridiculously powerful. You can get huge side slip. Even at 400 knots, I am pulling hard throttle adjustments. This is ridiculous. So snap roll, meh. Roll rates, meh. Pitch and yaw is ridiculous. And you can already hear the RWR going nuts. And it's naval ships. That's what I kind of expected. We don't have AWACS in the air. And there's no tanker available for us, so we're just going to have to not do that now. Now you're thinking to yourself, this is a glitch. Why does the Harrier's not got an FCR? It's a day attack aircraft. The earlier versions are, yes, but this is a modernised version known as the AV-8B 2+. This was the last version of the Harrier before they cycled it out, and it's currently still flying with the US Marine Corps. It is actually able to take AMRAAMs, up to 4 in fact. You can't. That's right. You can use the Harrier to dogfight. It's ridiculous. And I'm not even at full throttle, I would point out, and this doesn't have an afterburner. I'm not at full throttle, and I'm already Mach 0.75. Not bad for a supposedly supersonic, subsonic aircraft. You can notice even at full throttle, my angle of attack starts going negative. So I usually use that as an indication that things are starting to go wrong with the flight engine, and just tip the throttle back. And my dog is wrecking the house. So I'm going to chop the throttle back just a smidge. Just get it out of that annoying whiz. And rate of climb's good. At 5 degrees I'm already at 8,000 feet, even with all my manoeuvring and messing about. And like I say, roll rate's not so bad, but you can augment that with a little bit of rudder. So at full rudder and full left you get some fairly good control. Sorry, I just had to boot my dog back out the door because she was done with me. So that's the co-pilot ejected. And this is it's rather hard to imagine this as Israel, I know. We're at 10,000 feet and visibility is piss poor. Up, there we go, and we're in the pre-dawn gloom. So 18,000 would have been actually pretty good for us. Which is a little annoying. Now, let's have a look at our weapon loadout, like we said we would. So let's go air to ground. We got one Mark 20, one rocket pod, one Mark 77. So it's all dumb bombs. I'm going to just set up my fuses. Let's do a half second off the rail, and let's leave burst altitude to about that for rock angs. That should be decent. Let's get the arming delay on the canister of Mark 77 to half a second nose and tail. I don't think it's got a nose and a tail fusing in real life, as far as I'm aware, but hey, that's just part of the game. And we don't need a weapon pod, so we'll put the targeting pod there instead. And in the time it took me to get all that stuff messed around with and get fenced in, I've already gone to 25,000 feet, and we're going to now correct left for steer 4. Steer 4 is the target steer. And we're going to cut the throttle and dive down. And this thing just wants to bank high with the nose. I really should have turned and pulled down. So I'm going to put myself down through this cloud bank here, this block in the clouds. And when I'm under the cloud layer at this point, that should set me up for a good attack run. We're now 4 minutes out, and we're starting to get target and sensing data, which is great news. Now this is where we can really have fun with the Harrier. It is designed as a low level, or is designed as a terrain hugging.
Altitude.
Yeah, I know. It's designed to hug the terrain and find its targets and kick their scraggly asses. So at 30 miles out from target, we're not going to see much on the targeting pod, but let's give it a shot and see what happens. See if I can walk the FCR onto contacts, and we're picking up a couple of spots just near that what I believe is a runway, and we're at about the lowest of the speed that we want to be at. And we're at a time now where dawn is approaching, so we're getting good there. About 20 miles, 20 miles, I should start getting visibility on this guy here. We're going to cursor zero out that, and that should match up now with the targeting pod. Right, so visibility isn't the greatest, so the target pod is kind of struggling a little bit. That's alright. I like to have my grid square set, and let's set this to a fairly decent size radius. I'll change that to feet. I'm just using TMS up, down, left and right to select through the menu. There we go. And we should be starting to pick out targets now. Let's see what turns up. This is the runway. I'm looking for a set of Bradleys that are on or about it. Hoping they're going to come into view soon. Failing that, I'll aim specifically for the runway. Right, I see those revetments. That is where they're going to be. I've already reconned the area, I know this to be fact. Ooh, get better zoom with the TV, don't we? Yeah, well, we definitely found what's left of our Bradley. Alright. It's windy as hell out here, so I might just decide to knock this down at the base. Well, yeah, we're just going to aim right at the feet of the Bradley. That should allow for error. And I'm going to go for a CCRP style attack. Do my very best to watch for adjustments. Slight pushes in the throttle to keep me on target. Slight pushes on the rudder to keep me on target. I should be getting released any second now. Ooh. And one away. And that is some devastation. my frames are getting a shellacking right now, which usually is... Oh, yes, good effects. So, now we've got a marker on the target. We'll run in and see what else we can get with the rockets. Chuck the throttle up to give me as much of a bank, as much speed into this as possible. Speed is momentum. Momentum is good for aiming rockets. And we're starting to get a very jittery picture because rockets aren't the best in BMS. But that's them off the rail. Pretty much where I wanted them to be. Now, pull the throttle right back to idle because I'll still be gaining at this angle. And we're just going to start walking the fall line all the way up along that Bradley and pickle. And wing over. Safe escape maneuver and slam. Okay, so we've already. So here's another shot of the ramp start, and here's an alternative way of doing things. I'm not going to ramp start the bird and come back to you in a second. Okay. What we've changed so far is that I've tidied up the weather because I want to show you a short takeoff and landing situation. Okay, so we have ourselves a good platform and a good alignment. Bird's all booted up and ready to rock. What I've done now is what I'm just going to do now is take off the parking brake. I've got the chocks off. What we want to be doing now is setting our throttle to 90 degrees. And re-establish the wind.
Jump 1-1. Wind check.
Jump 1-1.
Machine approach.
360 at 14 knots.
Okay, so we need to turn the plane into the wind. The reason for this, let's put that to 80% throttle so we've got a bit of space. The reason why you always turn it into the wind when doing a vertical takeoff is because you got more thrust forward. You've got more ability to thrust forward. You can counter the wind that way. You don't want to be exposed to a crosswind when you're taking off at slow speeds. The wind will knock you around. And you don't want to have it with your back to you because you won't be able to push against the wind. Now, because we're taking off vertically, we don't necessarily have to be on the taxiway. Or even on the runway even. The beauty about the Harrier is you can take off from a dirt track if you need to. So, there's our runway heading.
Camel 1-1, turn left to final approach course 080, check approach speed.
We're going to push that back to 90 degrees on the exhaust. And just gently throttle up, you'll feel the plane want to lift. Small adjustments, there we go, right, a little bit more now.
1-1, on final.
I'm going to counter this, I can feel me going to the right.
1-1, resume on navigation.
Now at this point, it would be a very good idea to turn on your radar altimeter. Gain a little bit of speed. And you fly more like a chopper at this point. You're going to push the nose forward. Put a little bit more throttle forward to counter the fact that some of your thrust is going down and away from the ground. And build speed up. If you haven't done so already, build your gear up, which I have.
Good morning. Camel 1-1.
Palmachim Tower.
Cleared for landing. Runway 08.
And aiming to
Check
keep the
gear
flight
down.
path marker around about level with the ground. Gear up. And you are airborne.
Okay, so
You've been flying around for a little while. You want to land, but you're in a Harrier. Plus, hey, you're a fighter pilot, so you're a pretty lazy son of a bitch. I don't want to land on that runway and then go all the way over to the taxiway in my Rivet to park. I'd rather just park on the helipad. Well, with a Harrier, you can. Now, for the sake of brevity, I'm going to dispense with ATC instructions because they're not going to talk me onto the helipad anyway. What I'm going to do instead is slow the plane down. Okay, so there's the helipads in sight. So, gentle inputs.
Jump 11.
Palmachim Tower.
Next time, wait your turn.